We're dinking around with Eddie and Webby. Dinking around with Eddie and Webby tonight.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, it is our 70th episode, R2. Oh, hey, how's it going? This is Webby, not Eddie.
And I'm Eddie, and this is our 70th Dinking Around.
Oh yeah, episode number 70.
That's right. So excited. We got a lot in store for you tonight. I'm also excited about our partnership with Valair Pickleball. Let me tell you guys something. If you want to get your hands on some of the best pickleball paddles out there, you got to go to Valair.com and get paddles like my Mach 1 16mm that I've been playing with even before we started partnering with Valair. I love it. It's perfect for my game. It gives me a perfect combination of power, touch, and spin, and it suits me very well. Webby, why don't you talk about your favorite paddle from Valair?
The one I have been using and loving lately is the Mach 2 Forza 16mm. In fact, I had my daughter try it out for the first time this week, and she's loving it too. And we're doing a tournament this weekend, and I think she is going to use that paddle as well. So we'll both be rocking the Mach 2 Forza. I love it's got the wide body, has a huge sweet spot, and great spin. I love it.
Well, guys, whatever level you're at, Valair has a paddle for you. Go to Valair.com, use coupon code PB for life to get what?
You're going to get yourself 10% off your order and show us some support in the process.
That's right. Valair.com, coupon code PB for life. Enough about paddles, though, Webby. I got to know what in the world is in that drink. What you got in that drink?
That's right. What in the world is in that drink? And since tonight is our milestone 70th episode of Dinking Around, I thought I would go big with my beer today. And I can't think of a better beer than Big Hearted IPA from Bell's Brewery. And I just had this for the first time a few episodes ago. I loved it. And that is what I will be drinking tonight. What about you, Eddie?
Well, Webby, that's a Imperial IPA. Is that the one that you got a little tipsy on last time?
Yeah, by the end of the episode, I was getting a little tipsy.
Well, hopefully that'll happen again tonight because we all love Drunk Webby. And guess what? I'm continuing my Eddie's Summer of Seltzer series. And I'm having another one from Topo Chico to round out this segment with a tropical mango hard seltzer. And Webby, I got to tell you, I'm excited for this one. I typically don't like mango drinks. I like mango. I don't like mango drinks, though. But I think they're going to do good because I've liked all of Topo Chico's flavors so far. And what I'm most excited about is that we're going to be starting our summer RV trip very shortly. We're going to be going to places all over the country. So what I'm hoping is I can find seltzers from those individual areas. That way, when we record, give these places that we're going a little local love, you know?
Nice. I like it.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. Cheers to everybody tuning in as well.
Yeah, I definitely like it. Don't have much else to say except for it's definitely mango flavored.
And I can say this one is definitely a strong beer, but very smooth. And if I drink it quickly, I probably will be feeling really good by the end of the episode.
I like it. Any shout outs you want to talk about here tonight at all, Webby?
I kind of want to give you a little shout out because last week we talked about drilling and I talked about how I hate drilling. Guess what I did a couple days after that episode?
Not drill.
I actually did drill.
Nice.
I'm part of a 4.0 chat group at Wolverine Pickleball, and somebody sent a message saying, "Hey, anybody want to get together and do some drilling?" And myself and two others agreed to it. So we did 1 hour of drilling and then 1 hour of playing. And it actually was pretty good. Not going to lie, though, that first hour, I just kept thinking, man, I wish we were playing. But it was good, though. It was very beneficial. I definitely see the value in it. So it's pretty wild because I didn't plan on doing that. It just happened to work out. And it just happened to be a couple days after we recorded the previous episode. So who would have thought? Here we are a week later, and I did some drilling.
Dude, I love it. That's awesome. I'm really impressed that you did that. Can I ask two questions here? Number one, can you give me a breakdown of the drills that you did? And then number two, what did you focus on during the play portion after drilling to work on?
So we started just with the basic dinking. We did cross-court dinks and then across to the person in front of us. Then we did a dinking game where we had to dink 4 times. And then after that, then it's a live point. That was actually really fun. We did the thing where one person's up at the kitchen line, the other person's at the baseline, and the person at the kitchen line serves it to the person at the baseline, and then you play like a mini game like that. So the person at the baseline is working on trying to get up to the kitchen line, and the person at the kitchen line is working on trying to keep them back. And then the last thing that we did is we had one person at the kitchen line and the other person in the transition zone. And then we kind of had a lot of firefights that way. And then the person that was in the transition zone, they mainly tried to work on resetting and stuff like that. And once we actually started playing the game, I tried to be a little more aggressive than usual, but then I also tried to really focus on resetting when I was back towards the baseline or in the transition zone. And I do feel like it helped my game overall.
I think that's fantastic. And I really think it's a good testament too that, you went out there, you had something in mind that you were trying to focus on through your drilling that you're able to implement in competitive play. I honest to God think, Webby, if you can do that on a regular basis, that's going to transform your game.
Yeah, I definitely see the value. I've said it before. I always saw the value in drilling, but I just never had really the desire to do so. But I think I would like to do it at least once a month. I would like to designate a good portion of time, like a designated session to drilling like that. I do think it would be helpful, and I'm going to try to do that.
Well, keep us updated, Webby. But in the meantime, I got a question for you. What time is it?
Now it's time for Memes of the Week. Yeah!
That's right. It's Memes of the Week, Pickleball podcasting's hottest segment out there. There's nothing hotter than it. Try to prove me wrong, and you're going to fail because there's nothing hotter than that. And Webby, let's start with you this week. What memes you got for us today?
Well, I've actually got a couple of them for you guys today. The first one comes from Different Pickleball, and this is a little something that they call the 5 stages of paddle love.
Dude, I demoed this paddle last night. It was incredible. I've never hit like that before. It's the gearbox. So amazing.
Oh, really? I thought you loved your Vatic.
Yeah, I do, and I've been with it for a while, but it's just not enough power, It's here. It's beautiful. It's perfect. Look at this. Look how I hit. It's perfect. I literally can't miss. I can't miss. Look at that. Huh. I missed. That's weird.
That's out. That's way out.
That shot always stayed in with the Vatic. This thing has way too much power. That is not okay.
Oh, so you're back to the Vatic, huh?
Yeah. The control is incredible. I realize that's what's most important in a paddle. I don't need all that power.
Yeah, well, I just got the new Yola Gen 3. I mean, if you want to try it.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I love that. I've experienced that exact scenario numerous times. Like I'll have a paddle that I feel like really good with, and then something new comes out, and I'm like, oh, I got to try that. And then the exact same thing. I go through a honeymoon phase. Like immediately, it's like, oh, this paddle feels great. This is the best paddle I've ever played with. Then I start not playing good. I blame the paddle, and then I go back to what I was previously using. I've done that so many times.
It's so fun. I've actually can only say that I've done that one time, and that was when I had the Black Ace. I was playing on a super hot day where the ball was mushy as hell, and so I was able to actually somewhat control the ball with that. And then I played again one time at night where it was a little bit cooler, and I couldn't keep a ball in, and I'm like, forget this. It's too hard to control that paddle. I put it right back in my bag and went back to whatever I was playing with before. But I will tell you that once I started playing with Volair, that's all I've been playing with. I have not gone back and forth at all with any other paddles since I started.
Yeah, so when I first played with the Volair paddle, I really liked it a lot immediately, but I just wanted to try various other paddles as well, and I tried a couple other ones, but I kept coming back to the Volair paddle, and I haven't strayed from it in, I think it's been at least a year straight that I've used it, and I haven't had the desire to go anywhere else, so yeah.
Moral of the story is, if you got something that works, don't mess with it. You're good.
I agree. But this second meme that I have, it actually is from somebody that was in that previous video. His account on Instagram is WanSeanPB. And this is a funny one, and I feel like a lot of people out there can relate to it. But basically, sometimes you may say something to your significant other, and they might hear something totally different. Kind of like what happens in this meme.
Hey, babe, the guys just hit me up to go play pickleball at the park. I think I'm going to go for like an hour or two. Hey, babe, I hate it here. So I'm gonna go spend all my time with my friends playing pickleball today. We're probably gonna be drinking a lot and there's gonna be a ton of girls around. I don't love you and I don't want to spend time with you.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
I feel like there are a lot of significant others, especially like the significant others that don't play pickleball. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah. I'm very lucky that usually when I'm going to say I'm going to go play pickleball, my wife's like, get out of the house, go do something. But yes, I'm sure there are some people out there, some girls that get a little jealous of their men. Maybe vice versa too. Maybe there's some guys that get a little jealous of their girls out there playing pickleball so much.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Yeah, luckily I am in a good, understanding relationship to where it's not an issue, but I have seen other people that seem like they probably encounter that scenario from time to time.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But yeah, I thought that was great. Nice work, Juan Sean. But what about you, Eddie? What kind of memes you got today?
Webby, did you watch any of the Sacramento Open, the PPA Sacramento Open, June 5th to June 9th at all?
As a matter of fact, I did.
Well, I'm sure you've also noticed in the previous, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 PPA events, they've been experimenting with putting microphones by the bench. That way, during timeouts, they can get some insight into what the players are saying. And most of the time, it seems to work out really well. But when you had Ben and Anna Lee on the bench along with Lee Waters, some interesting stuff kind of took place. And so our friends over at Memes of Pickleball, of course, they can't let an opportunity like this happen. So I'm going to start by playing the clip and kind of showing you a couple other memes that came from that here.
Even the drives are like going up.
Yeah, but it's like hard to do anything with them anyway.
Right. It's like a Tyra drive, like it's shit, but what are you going to do with it? She literally hits her drives with backspin. I'm like, did you play tennis?
Her grip is like, what is that? Like it's good.
Anna Lee points out that there's a microphone nearby.
So some
and
deep
Ben's face
conversation here on
very serious.
the bench there, and
Dave
a lot
Family
of
tries to
discussion there about
All right, so to put that in a little context for you guys there. So basically what was happening is the bench mic had picked up Ben and Anna Lee and Lee Waters talking about how mushy the ball was because of how hot it was in Sacramento, and basically saying that their topspin drives are not bouncing correctly. And then Ben was comparing it to Hurricane Tyra Black's drives, saying that she puts backspin on her drives, and then calling out whether or not she played tennis before. So, I felt like, I don't know. I think people are making a pretty big deal about it online, and really, I think they're making a bigger deal out of it than they really should be. I don't know. What do you think, Webby?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's as big a deal as people are making it out to be, but it was funny how Anna Lee pointed out that the microphone was there in the middle of Ben going on his little rant, and then Ben's face just totally changes as it gets like real serious, and then he like stays quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
so good. Well, I got to tell you, a couple great responses to it. I believe this is from a tweet from Ben John saying, how to practice with purpose. Number 1, select drills targeting specific skills for improvement. During practice, concentrate on 1 or 2 key areas. We talked about that with your drilling, right?
Yep.
And then number 3, repetition is key to learning for your brain. Well, Hurricane Tyra Black came back and said, any tips for working on drives? Asking for a friend. Dude, like, how great of Tyra to do that. Like, such a good way to take the negative attention that might have come from it and just turn it into a positive experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And I feel like a lot of the pro players, a lot of them are really close friends behind the scenes and stuff like that. And I feel like Tyra probably didn't really care what Ben said and probably didn't get hurt feelings and stuff like that. And I feel like that post is a good example that she had a good humor about it.
Absolutely. But here's what I hope happens. And this is basically another meme from Memes of Pickleball here. And this one is Hurricane Tyra Black. The next forehand she gets playing against Ben Johns. And anybody who is watching Los Cab PPA will remember this shot right here. And it's basically of Hayden Patrickin, and he just unleashes on Travis Rettenmeyer. There's absolutely, it is 100% obvious that Hayden was just trying to absolutely destroy Travis with that shot.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I do think that it would be funny if Tyra was able to get back at Ben somehow similar to that.
Oh, that'd be so great. That would be so great.
Those are our memes. If you guys like them, let us know down in the comments below. If you have a meme that you want us to be able to share and review, let us know as well. And Webby, I got another question for you. It's a question I've never asked before, and that is, what time is it?
Now it's time for Topics of the Week.
That's right. It's time for Topics of the Week. This is the portion of the show where we each bring a topic to discuss. But Eddie, you actually have a pretty special topic tonight that I think would be good to be our main topic of the evening. Why don't you fill us in on what that's going to be?
Well, thank you, Webby. Well, basically, earlier this week, I had a sit down with somebody that has a new role in the pickleball industry, specifically with the UPA. And I sat down with him. We had a pretty honest conversation. Let's play that interview now, and then Webby, afterwards, you and I can rap about it. What do you think?
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, Eddie and Webby. Our guest tonight is actually a guy who's been in the pickleball space for quite a little while now. He is the co-founder of The Kitchen, and now has taken on a new role in the pickleball space. Please welcome to the show, Jason Aspes. Did I say that right, Jason?
You got it. Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure, man. We're really excited for you. It's cool to kind of see how people can take their previous experience outside of pickleball and kind of bring it into the pickleball world a little bit. So I guess I'm hoping you could just start giving us a brief background of your experience prior to pickleball.
Yeah, so I have been an advertising executive, creative director, global creative director for 20 years all over the world, lived in Asia for 12 years, ran big agencies like Ogilvy and Mather, worked for WPP. My kind of last job in advertising was I was running the Intercontinental Hotel business globally. That's IHG, which is actually a sponsor of PPA now, which is kind of ironic. No connection. And very complicated job where I was looking after different disciplines, different regions, different languages, all sorts of, very complicated business structures. And so being able to take my background in advertising and marketing, trying to apply that to pickleball. And I think that's what we did with The Kitchen. And we're able to create great content, package things up in ways that, perhaps weren't being done on the regular a few years ago, 4 years ago. I know you guys are old school. You guys have been around forever and have been doing a great job with that. And so I think that we kind of came into the world of social and we're able to break through at a time when, COVID had hit and pickleball was just starting to get traction amongst the mainstream. And I like to think that, we had a little bit to do with that we were bringing it to the masses, packaging it up in a fun, compelling way that was easier for people to consume and kind of fall in love with. And a little kind of balance of education and entertainment. And I think hopefully we did a good job of that. My other side of my business was I've been an entrepreneur. I've left the advertising world a few times and gone and started up businesses, one of which was a focus on social and environmental sustainability. That spawned off a bunch of businesses. I lived in Asia at the time. So this was in Singapore. Spent, from 2001 to 2013 traveling extensively throughout the world, really, but primarily in Asia. So have seen the rise of Asia, seen the growth, the trajectory of China, getting there in 2001, moved to Hong Kong. China was really in 2001, not the powerhouse that it is today. I moved there 3 months before 9/11 happened from New York. Oh, wow. And so my thought was I'd go back in a year, no big deal. And 9/11 happened, everything changed. The rise of China was just, meteoric. We'd really never seen anything like it. So there was no mad rush to go back to New York after that. One thing led to another, and I ended up there for 12 years. I met my wife, started a family, created a couple of businesses. And so 12 years later, I made the pilgrimage back to the States. And now I'm here in Atlanta looking after pickleball. Who would have thunk it?
It is kind of crazy too how you see a lot of people that do have, like I mentioned, these previous backgrounds outside of the pickleball space, and then they kind of go all in on pickleball. And it seems like that's what led you to be the co-founder of the kitchen, and now what has led you to become the president of UPA, the United Pickleball Association.
Yeah, very excited to be part of this. I think I've been a fan of pickleball, and it's been so much fun to be sort of on the sidelines of this, covering the sport and helping to kind of educate and entertain. But when the opportunity presented itself to get in the mix and actually have real impact on the growth of the game and making decisions that are going to impact the game itself, it was a offer I really couldn't refuse. So really excited to be part of it, part of the whole Pickleball Inc. organization. Obviously with PPA, the premier tour with the best talent that is not only here in America, but expanding abroad. MLP as the team format, which has really captured, I think the imagination of pickleball players all over the place. It's a fun way to play the game. And I think that, we're still working out some of the kinks of how to make it its best self, but super excited about the potential of MLP. And also now we're doing a UPA championships. So having a state championships that culminate in the world championships in Dallas this fall. So excited for that. Can't wait to get going.
It sounds like you're bringing a lot of passion into the role, which is really cool. Can you kind of give us a breakdown of UPA? You talked about MLP, Major League Pickleball, PPA, the Professional Pickleball Association. But then there's also this new governing body that kind of falls into the same space, the UPAA, which is the United Pickleball Association of America. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And so, I know there's been a little bit of confusion about that. Let me try to unpack that, if you will. The game has been amazing, right? We've all fallen in love with this thing. The growth has been outrageous. Technology has been incredible. The paddle manufacturers have absolutely exploded. There's thousands of paddles out there. That's great. I love innovation. I had an innovation company. I'm a big believer in innovation, but you need regulation to keep that innovation in check. And without those guardrails up, things happen, right? Things can spiral out of control. Pickleball is not necessarily here to stay no matter what. This is still a young game, even though it's been around since 1965. We're just now establishing the roots that will make it a longstanding game, right? We need the infrastructure built out. We need the investment. We need the policies and the regulations in place to make sure that it sustains and that it is here for a long time. Paddle regulation being one of those things that I saw as an issue. Started seeing this back in 2001. I've talked about it on a couple of podcasts where I saw paddles that weren't behaving the way I thought paddles should behave. They were too either quiet or they're too powerful, too spinny. And it really changed the game. It wasn't as much fun to play against people who had paddles that were not necessarily the way that they were meant to be. And this is no USAP sticker on it, right? This was a Master Athletics quiet paddle, the Q1, and it was a rubberized paddle. And you could hit that with as much force as you wanted because it generated a ton of friction, spun the ball, and it was a different game. And I remember thinking, well, that's not nearly as much fun as the game I'm used to playing. What is that? I recognized it didn't have a USA sticker on it. And so it got me thinking of like where this game could head if it left unchecked. Fast forward a couple of years, we saw EVA foam paddles come in, not approved by USA Pickleball, but I got to see that there were significant issues with paddles not being approved out in the marketplace because rec play is part of the kind of the core of what pickleball is. It onboards people at the parks all across the country, and people aren't looking after their paddles. They don't know what other paddles are. They don't know to look for the sticker. And so I thought this could become an issue. And as I was kind of fighting that battle as the kitchen guy, we started seeing paddles that were approved that were emulating that type of behavior, way too much power. Noise that was not significant to give people auditory cues of how fast the ball was coming. And I started seeing injuries, and we started hearing anecdotally of people being hit in the eyes, corneal abrasions, retina detachments, significant injuries to your eyes. And I realized like there's no reason why anyone should ever sustain an eye injury playing pickleball. This is a fun game, and shame on us if we allow this to become the norm. So, I wanted to make sure that we, had processes and regulations in check that would not allow for this game to spin out of control and lead to the detriment of the game. I was talking to Connor Pardo about this, and I've been very vocal as the kitchen guy about paddles, and really there were not the right regulations in place from USA Pickleball, and that concerned me. And so Connor was asking what he thought we should do, and I was pretty blunt about what I thought needed to happen. And that was when he said, well, would you be willing to do it over here? And I said yes. And I was I was hoping that USA Pickleball would get it done properly. I applied a ton of pressure to them. I talked to them on the regular. And I just think that, they have history behind them, right? They're starting from a place that they have to deal with their rules and regulations that are in place already. We're a clean slate. We are unburdened by anything from our past. And so we get to start wherever we want. And I think that gives us a leg up. It's not a knock on them. It's just the reality of this game moves fast. And if we're not careful with the production, it can spiral out of control. So we want to just pull back those power numbers. Really, right now, USAP has no power numbers. There is no regulation on how fast a ball can be hit. And that's a problem. There needs to be a speed limit and also a spin limit. So we're working on that. And that's what UPAA is set up to do. And that's just to provide guidance and regulations for paddle manufacturers that are going to play on our tours. Ultimately, maybe that will cascade out beyond entities that we control. But I think that we'll do best in class regulations, testing, enforcement, and hopefully it'll be adopted by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys have made quite a bold statement that paddles are going to be your focus, right? I mean, one of the first real large rulings or things that came out of the UPAA was a situation with Andre Deescu, which, a lot of people might think it was a harsh penalty. The crime didn't justify the punishment or whatnot. And I'm not here to debate that, but I think it is a statement that obviously paddles are something that you're really focusing on. And I think that's great. A lot of people out there can appreciate it. We know what happens when a player does something that kind of goes outside of what the rules and regulations are regarding paddles. But I want to talk about from a manufacturer's perspective, because it seems to me like if a player does something that is going to push the limits of what their paddle can do to maybe skirt testing or get around some of the numbers that are put in place that the paddles have to stay within a threshold of. But what about when manufacturers are doing this, right? We hear stories about pro players that will bring 12 paddles to ensure that we'll get a couple that will pass, right?
Yeah.
Are there any things that are kind of in place or any vision for the future of how manufacturers are going to be held responsible to ride that line between pushing the limits of the paddle versus, only 20% of ours will actually fall within the limits that are put out there?
Yeah. So let me unpack that of why it is where we are. USA Pickleball has, once I said again, has no regulations on speed, output, spin, nothing. They measure grit, right? So the peaks and valleys of a carbon fiber paddle. But if you have a nanotech paddle or a rubberized type paddle, that doesn't measure anything. So there's no measurement for that in the field. There's really no recourse. Once a paddle gets tested and approved in USA Pickleball, that's it. But what happens is these paddles, they break in. They have a break-in period. They essentially degrade to the benefit. So they get more poppy, right? That's what core crush is. That's what delamination is. And we're not talking about delamination to, to a problem where it's a defect, but more, it is a feature. We know these things break in and get hotter. And so what's happening is USA Pickleball is maybe testing at the very beginning a deflection test, which really they apply very little pressure, so everything passes. And then these paddles go out and they get played with and they get hotter and hotter and hotter. So PPL, our third-party testing lab, created a test where we could identify if these paddles were getting too hot. And so that's why you see failures in the marketplace, because manufacturers are building to the certification that USA Pickleball puts in place, not to our tests necessarily. Our tests are just for the pro game. So we see a lot of these paddles failing because I think it's a fair indication that most paddles in the marketplace would fail our tests. But our tests are a layer on top of what is USAP certification. But what we're recognizing is that that certification is really not good enough. And I think USA Pickleball recognizes this now, and that's why they've been going after a few paddle manufacturers now. Yola, Rhombus, Vatic, fairly or unfairly. I'm not really sure because I haven't really seen the transparency I would have liked from a governing body why these paddles are failing now. I feel like the regulations were pretty loose. And so now to apply a stricter enforcement, I'm not sure how they're doing that. I'm glad to see that they're cracking down. I just don't know if they're doing it the right way. I hope they are, because there could be, repercussions, because you're certainly hurting these companies. You're hurting the retail shops around the country. We're trying to build this game and grow this game. And I heard from a shop owner last night that, is really worried about whether or not his business is viable with all these returns coming in. Cash flow is an issue. And, this is a problem that's been caused truly by USA Pickleball pulling the rug out from Yola, who have sold more paddles in the marketplace than anyone. Now, do I think those paddles should be out there? I think they got certification, and I think you got to probably let that play out. But I'm glad things have worked out the way they have. I want to make sure that we can onboard new manufacturing and these brands that have been banned. I want to be able to give them an on-road back to viability, but we need to pull back the power, pull back the spin, make sure everybody's got quality control. And that's what I'm hopeful for. The other thing I'd say, a couple of things. The kind of the plan going forward, I think that we need to have in the pro game at least. I want players to trust their manufacturers. I want manufacturers to trust their players, and to create almost like a marriage of sorts. When you choose a player to sign, that player should look at the manufacturer and do the research and make sure that the paddles that they are given for their tournaments are going to pass certification, right? I want them to be able to trust and go in this together, because if anything were to go wrong, if moving forward, now we're not there yet, but maybe 6 months, 12 months in the future, when you hand in a paddle and if it doesn't pass, together you are going to fail, both the manufacturer and the player. And so they need to pick a paddle manufacturer that they trust, and vice versa. They want to know that their player is not going to manipulate the paddle in any way to try to gain an advantage that's not just. So that's on that front of where we're heading with this. And we're going to raise the standards, and we're going to give people very clear regulations, and the idea that you cannot have a break-in period, or if you have a break-in period, it does not exceed a threshold that is going to be set in stone, or else there will be serious consequences. Last point, going back to the Andre situation, I think Andre's situation is very different than the paddle situation. Manipulation of a paddle is very different than a manufacturing defect, I would say. But really, like I said, the manufacturers are playing to the certification that they have been given from USA Pickleball. It's hard to fault them right now, because we're putting an extra layer of protection against paddle poppiness and power and spin. So I give them a little bit of a break because the regulations are not in place yet. But that's what UPA is there for, to give very clear direction and directive. And we will get there as soon as we possibly can. We are working tirelessly to get this done.
I love it. I do think that that's going to help the sport, right? Not only is it going to help the people who are purists, which I might be, of the intent of pickleball and how it was kind of developed as a way to where power was part of the game, but it's almost secondary to touch and strategy. And I agree with you that if we can't get our arms around the paddle situation, it could get out of control and it could completely change the game to what I think is the detriment. And it sounds like you think as well.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You play a lot of pickleball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you played against the Gen 3s or Gearbox or some of these paddles that have, foam embedded that are incredibly poppy? It changes the game. It is for me at least, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, not nearly as much fun.
I don't disagree with you, especially the community I used to live in. There's a lot of people who play pickleball quite frequently, and they're kind of stuck at that 3-5 level because they really haven't focused on developing the soft part of their game. And I saw them at the US Open buying the Yola Gen 3s. And I kept thinking to myself, you could really save yourself a lot of money, play with the touch paddle, take that $300, put it into a clinic or lessons, and your game is going to improve so much more than the additional power that you're going to get from that Yola Gen 3. And that's where I think the marketing of these paddles is really taking people outside of what the intent of the sport is, or what I believe is truly how you get better. It's not, power is important, but it's not the only thing. And if these paddles are just focusing on power, you're going to change the sport. It's not going to be as much fun. It's just going to be basically mini tennis, and that's not what I signed up for.
You're incentivizing power, right, over touch. And I was a huge part of the thing that made me love this game was that strategy mitigated athleticism. That was magic, right? That formula was amazing. That's why you had the oldies out there that could beat the young athletes. And I'm not that I was an athlete or young, but I went out there the first time I played, and I played against guys who I thought I should have just absolutely wiped off the court. And I lost. And it made me, a lot of self-reflection of what the hell just happened? Why did that happen? I need to figure this game out. There's so much more to this than just hitting the ball hard. And so that was what really brought me so much joy in trying to figure out and master. But if you have the ability just to, drive right through people, and it's so hard and it's got so much spin and it's dipping that there's really no defense to it, well, all that goes away. And that's really unfortunate. We want to make sure that the integrity of the game, the things that we love about it, stay in place and are protected.
I love it. I think that's great. And we have seen a change on the pro side over the last few years, right? Even if you go back to some of early PPA, or let's even go to US Opens 2018, and you watch that style of play, it is very different now, right? And that kind of leads me to my next topic that I want to talk about, and that is growth of the sport. Obviously, you seem very passionate about growing the sport. Webby and I, that's the whole point of what we do, is to try and elevate the sport and grow the sport. And I want to share a quick story, and I've shared this before in the podcast, but my wife and I stayed at the Hilton Head Motor Coach Resort back in August of 2021. And I played pickleball a few times there with a group that played every single morning. And their skill set was between about a 3 to 3.5 or whatever, but they played every single morning and they were obsessed with it. Just a few miles down the road from Palmetto Dunes. And this is a week before the 2021 APP Palmetto Dunes event was going to happen. And so during a water break, I asked them, like, are any of you guys going to go check out the APP Pro event that's going to be happening there? And all of them were like, we didn't even know it was going to happen. And most of them said, I didn't even know there was professional pickleball. So it kind of brings to light the discrepancy between people who play the sport every single day religiously and getting people watching and going to a lot of these pro events. Now, granted, that was almost 3 years ago, and if I went back, it might be a little bit different, but I don't think it's going to be that much different. So I guess one of my questions for you is, as part of your new role, what are the ways that you think that that we can continue to grow the sport in all aspects, leading to more eyeballs onto professional pickleball?
Yeah, good question. So I think I think if you go back there, it would be significantly different. I think people might not know the names, but they'll know it exists. I think that it has kind of been immersed in culture. We see it on TV commercials. We see it, late night shows. We see, influencers playing. It's the more exposure pickleball has, the more acceptance it gains. And that's why it's important to get it on broadcast, because when it is on TV to the mainstream, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are getting witness to it, right? Making SportsCenter top 10, it matters, even if people aren't watching SportsCenter as much as they used to. But all those things add up to building the narrative of this sport being legitimate. It's not just a hobby. It's not just something you play down at the, in the cul-de-sac. It's a real sport with real athletes playing. That's exciting. But this is inherently a participatory sport. People need to play it to understand it. It's not easy to watch if you don't have any context and you just watch it, it looks boring. They're dinking back and forth and you're thinking, I could do that. I remember watching pro pickleball the first time I ever saw it. I thought I could do this. Until you get out there and realize what they're doing and how they're doing it and why they're doing it, it's a whole different thing. So people do need to play, which is great because really everyone loves this game. They love playing it, even no matter what level you're at. Even if you have been sedentary for the last 20 years, you get out there, you're having joy. Hitting a ball is a joyful experience. Getting out there, feeling active, being part of a community is a really joyous and a lovely experience for people, right? And that's why there's so much magic around the sport, that it is connecting people. It is getting people off the couch and playing again. And that idea of just playing is wonderful. So we need to build those people from the grassroots, right? And then we need to be able to express to them there is this thing called pro pickleball. And as the more serious you get about this game, the more that pro game matters, because you want to see what the best players in the world are doing. You want to incorporate their strategies and their styles and understand the stacking and understand what, body movements and when to speed up and all that kind of fun stuff that gets into the nuance of the game. We need to do a better job of building narratives and personalities and better production. We need to communicate better of when these things are on and what they mean and how they are, disseminated across the platforms. So there's tons of work for us to do to make it better. If you take a step back and remember where we were just 2 years ago, it's insane. And so I know that we hear a lot of criticism of everything across the board, but we are moving so fast. I don't know if we've ever seen a sport just really take this kind of rise and professionalize itself so quickly, because in 2020, there were no pro leagues, nothing. Right. And now we have multitude of them, and the production levels look pretty darn good. They're on major networks where 4 years ago it didn't exist. That's pretty magical. And I think it's time, it's good to step back a step and just, appreciate how quickly we're moving, but know that there's still a ton of work to do.
It sounds to me like, Jason, you're really taking this job seriously. You're carrying your passion for pickleball into this role. You truly believe that pickleball can get to the level that we all hope it does, and I love that. I would love to be able to spend hours and hours talking with you, and I definitely think we want to have you on the pod again, maybe in 6 months or so, just to kind of see what influence you've been able to bring to it and talk through it. But with every guest, we give them the opportunity at the end to talk about anything you want, share anything you want, let people know how to follow you, how they can support your journey. The floor is yours.
Oh, gosh. So what do I have to say? I feel like I've said everything that I had to say. I think, look, I love this game. I genuinely do. I think that it has magical qualities to it. Like we said, it's helped so many people, whether from, reacclimate to society, to find community, to find a loved one, to lose weight, whatever it might be. Just get off the couch and play. That's awesome. And I think that at the top of this thing, hopefully we pull people from the grassroots to the parks and churches and community centers all over the country to start to dabble in tournament play and go from rec play to leagues to tournaments to onboarding to figure out what Duper is all about and get a rating and be able to find people that are in their area and meet new people. It brings communities together. I've seen it in Opelika, Alabama. I've seen it in Tampa, Florida. I've seen it in Nashville, Tennessee, here in Atlanta, all over the country, where they're building out infrastructure and it's bringing communities together. It's truly amazing. So I want to continue that trajectory. I want to do the right things to shepherd the game and raise the status of it and make sure that it is viewed as a real sport. There's plenty to do, and I know the criticisms. I've heard them loud and clear. We're working on them, and I hope that everybody holds us accountable. And we continue to grow this game, and they come along for the ride, because I think it's one hell of a journey.
I agree. I think the journey to now has been great, and I think we have a few crazy years in front of us here. Jason, we're all rooting for you. Thank you so much. We wish you so much success in this role. We look forward to having you on again, and just thank you so much, man.
You got it. I'll see you in Michigan.
Yes, see you at Beer City. Well, there you have it. That was my interview with the new president of UPA. Webby, what did you think, man?
That was great stuff. I thought that was very interesting. And I've never met Jason before, but I've always been interested in what he does, especially what his background is, and then hearing about why the UPA became a thing. And yeah, I thought that was great stuff.
I agree, man. I got to tell you, it seems like he's bringing a little bit of experience, maturity, just a different kind of energy about him to the UPA, which obviously the UPA is a new organization, right? But it's basically the merger of PPA, MLP, and now bringing on this new governing body. So let's talk specifically about UPA as it comes to the past with PPA, right? I don't know that I ever heard anybody from the PPA organization be as kind of honest and vulnerable about the criticisms that are out there. And Webby, you and I have been vocal and critical of PPA in the past, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And some of that was justified. Some of it was probably venting. There's probably a bunch of different reasons, right? But obviously, in anything, there's going to be nuggets of truth. And it does seem like Jason is positioning himself to kind of be someone who is going to listen to some of that criticism that in the past has felt like it has just fallen on deaf ears. So I guess my question for you, Webby, and the question for everybody out there, could Jason be the savior of pro pickleball? I know that's an extreme question to ask, but Webby, you and I both know how important corporate culture is, right? I used to work for the company that you currently work for. I was there for 19 years, something like that. You've been there for a long time. And at the core of that company is a solid culture that everybody's bought into. So I think you and I can both, really live to tell that corporate culture is very important. So do you think that through Jason's influence within the UPA, he can change the culture to be more in alignment with what we think is going to help grow pro pickleball?
I definitely think the potential is there. I don't know Jason well enough to know a whole lot about him as a person, but based on your discussion that you had, it definitely made me hopeful that he has what it takes to do something like that. And if he can do that, I'm definitely going to become a fan of his. That's for sure.
Yeah, I already feel like I am a fan, and perhaps I might be a little bit of a, what's that word? I'm always optimistic, right? I always believe in the best in people. But I do think that if Jason can really show that what he says is genuine and true, I do believe that he can bring about some very positive change. So out there, everybody tuning in, could Jason be the savior of pro pickleball? Let us know down in the comments below. Tweet at us, Instagram at us, do all those other crazy things that the kids do to send over information. And we would love to know your perspective because that's our perspective and we want to know yours.
That is correct. And Eddie, I don't even know if I told you I did this, but I created an Eddie and Webby Discord. I don't know if I did it right. And I don't even know if it's like searchable and findable, but maybe one of these days that'll be a way that we can interact with you guys is on Discord. I know a lot of the kids are loving the Discord. So maybe that'll be a thing soon. Let us know in the comments below if you want us to be active in Discord and we can get that going as well.
And yes, the kids love Discord. Do you want to know what kids and adults also both like, Webby?
What's that?
They like products from our friends over at Jigsaw Health. Did you like that transition?
That's good. Good stuff.
Jigsaw Health has a ton of great products out there to keep you hydrated on and off the pickleball court. Webby, how do you like to stay hydrated?
Well, one way I love to stay hydrated is to drink some pickleball cocktail first thing in the morning. Even if I'm not going to play pickleball, I love to start my day that way. I love the orange flavor, but lately I've absolutely been loving the blue raspberry flavor. But either way, can't go wrong.
That's right. I'm a big fan of the pickleball cocktail as well. My flavor of choice is blue raspberry, but I take other products from Jigsaw Health on a daily basis. And guys, if you want to get your hands on some great products out there that are going to make you feel good, because at Jigsaw Health, it's fun to feel good. Go to jigsawhealth.com. Use coupon code PB4Life10 to get what?
You are going to get yourself $10 off your order and show us some support in the process.
Yes, we appreciate it. It keeps us bringing this great content, and it helps support a company like Jigsaw Health, who is obsessed with pickleball, so much so that they created the Orchard at Jigsaw Health, which is their indoor pickleball facility. It also is the location that hosts the Arizona Pickleball League, which is a professional league that they created, and they made a documentary called Breaking Pickleball. Jigsaw Health is one of those companies that if you're into pickleball, you definitely want to support because they are huge proponents of pickleball. Again, jigsawhealth.com, coupon code PB4Life10.
Yes, Great stuff there. Just like this episode, I thought it was a great one. But before we go, Eddie, I would love to know your
Closing thoughts.
Well, what did we learn tonight? Well, Webby started drilling. Finally. Most hardcore pickleball players have fallen deeply in love and equally out of love with a pickleball paddle at some point in their life. When you tell your significant other that you're going out to play pickleball, they might think you're doing something else. PPA Pro should be aware that the benches on center court are mic'd up, and I hope Hurricane Tyra Black is able to give Ben some payback with a nice forehand body bag. And the new president of UPA, Jason Aspes, could he be the savior of pro pickleball that we've been waiting for? Well, Webby, that was a great episode tonight.
I agree. That was a lot of fun, very informative, very interesting. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I liked it a lot as well. And on that note, I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
There you go.
Well, we're dinking around with Eddie and Webby. Dinking around with Eddie and Webby tonight.
Oh, yeah.